Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making the very fashionable size tall and slim card, and it's going to be a tri-shutter. So when it opens it up, it gives you lots of dimension. You've got somewhere to write there, and it stands like this. It's very concertina-y, very easy to do. Doesn't look it, but it is. I'm using 8.5 by 11 card and doing an inches tutorial. If you want to see an A4 in centimetres, I'll link it in the description because I do have that. So I've cut my 11 inches down to 10.5 to make easy math. As you know, that's what I love. And it's 8.5 tall, stays the same. Okay, so we'll get started on that. And I'll just like to say thank you to everyone that has subscribed, liked and commented on my channel and even shared the videos. It's free to do, and I really do appreciate you helping me grow my channel. So what you need to do is have the 8.5 at the top, and if you've got a scoreboard that has an overlap 2 inches, you can line up 2 inches. If not, you'll just have to do it both sides at 2. So you're coming in 2 from each end. So this is 8.5, so it would be 6.5 up this end. So you'd start your scoring at 6.5 and then move it along to 2. Because I've got 2 each way, I can do that both ways. So I do. Saves me extending my trimmer, basically. So what I'm going to do is cut from 1 3/4 down to 8 3/4. There's only 2 cuts on this, believe it or not. So 8 3/4 and then 2 inches this side. I can go backwards and then go 8 3/4 up to 1 3/4, as long as you're just making the same cuts. Doesn't matter if you go backwards because your trimmer's already there in place, so why not use it? So that's that done. So you've just got 2 inches in. So if you were going to be marking this with a pencil, you'd come in 2 inches, down 1 3/4 and make a pencil line, 2 inches, up 1 3/4 and make a pencil line and cut between them. Okay, that's all you need to do. I'm just going to remove my trimmer because, believe it or not, that's the cuts. I am going to show you how to make the shapes. So I've got one here and I'm going to show you how to do that, matting and layering, really simple. We'll get onto that once I've done my scores. So in with the scoreboard. And I've just got to find my scoring tool because I have left it somewhere. Just bear with me. Ta-da! Guess where I left it? In the end where it belongs. How random. So what we need to do is just make this into thirds. So because it's 10.5, like I say, I like the easy maths. So we've got 3.5 inch score there, all the way down, and a 7 inch score all the way down. Now the other scores that you can do, and there's 4 of them, are only from the top outside of the paper, if you like, to the cut. Outside to the cut, outside to the cut, outside to the cut. And you're doing them at the same places that you cut. So 1 3/4 down to the cut line, 1 3/4 up to the cut line, 8 3/4 down to the cut line, 8 3/4 up to the cut line, like that, and that's it. Simple as that. So now I'm going to show you how you fold these, and that's also simple. I'm just going to, sorry, I'm just moving my scoreboard and my paper trim so I'm ready to go for the next section. And then what we do is, this is the front of the card and this is the inside right. So the first 3 scores are always mountain, and mountain means it goes up like a mountain, if you like. So these 3, and I never fully bend them, I just get them going, and then I reinforce them when they're in position. The next 3, so the 2 outside ones in the middle, are valley, the opposite way. And then the last 2 here are going to be mountain, because we've got no more on the inside, and then on the end here, valley. So what happens is we're pulling this card over, so this is all coming over. That's coming over, and that's going to all fold down when you gently, and I just gently tease it into place, and then I burnish it. And you need to burnish it with something because it just makes the scores and creases much crisper. It works better, it looks more professional, so it's always worth just doing this little burnish around your cards. And then when I open it up, you'll see that you've got your shape already. It's that easy. So simple to do and so effective. There's also a really easy way to do our mats and layers. So this is 3.5 wide by 8.5 deep. So you cut down 1/4 inch, 3 1/4 wide by 8 1/4 deep. And I know that I've got to cut out some fancy shapes, but the measurements work out really easy, to be honest. So just cut 3 panels like this. So 3 panels, 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. It will also add strength to your card by adding panelling. And then what you need to do, if you're using double-sided thick card, then you can get away with it and just have the pattern on your card. Just grab my chair in a little bit so I can see better. So what we need to do is we take one of our panels, just move my card out the way, and if there's a pattern on it, then work out which side you want the cutouts to be. The cutouts are always going to be, you've got 1.5 inches here and you've got 1 3/4 this side. Okay, so it's 1.5 versus 1 3/4. So if you line up at 1.5, it's much easier maths. So I've got 1.5 this side, and that's going to be the tall long side. Okay, the side that says this is the bit that's going to disappear. And then what you need to do is at 1.5, you just cut down 2 inches. Okay, you just cut down 2 inches, and then you can do the 2 inches at the bottom. So because it's 8 1/4, cut up to 6 1/4. Just cut up 2 inches. Or alternatively, you can spin it around, but make sure you're keeping that 1.5, because you've got two very similar measurements. You don't want to go off. Yeah, they're not too different from each other. And then what you need to do is, if you spin it around and then you mark, this is 2 inches. So if you've got 2 inches that way, you can do that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut up. So you're going to cut up to 1.5, because that's the depth that you've got. I can't actually see. I'm going to stand up and see this. To 1.5, and you can see there's a cut line there, and what will happen is that will come out. Okay, so you've got your 1.5 there and 2 inches. So it's 2 inches, 1 3/4, but that doesn't really matter because you're just cutting it off. As long as you get this 1.5 in, and that's how you want it. Okay, so you've got your 1.5 little piece there, so we can line this up to 2 this side now, and then we're going to cut from 1.5, which is there, which is where the cut line is, down to the end, and you've got your other little piece. Now these can now be cut down to fit inside of here. Okay, these aren't the right sizes, and I'm going to right sizes all over this card for you in a second, so just hang tight there. Now these little sections, you've got your 3 1/4 inch wide piece, and all you need to do is just cut them down. You've just got 3 pieces to cut down. So you started off with your 8 1/4, and this is going to be 1 3/4 deep. This one, from memory, I think is 4 1/4 deep. Let me measure it. Let's have a look. And I will write them on there for you at the end. 4 1/4. Okay, so you've got everything's 3 1/4 wide. The 3 panels are 3 1/4 wide. With this one, you're going to do exactly the same as what we did last time, and you'll end up with another piece. And if you haven't got a pattern that's upside down, then you can pop that in there, like that works. Or alternatively, we could have it that way. So it's entirely up to you now which way you spin these round. So once you've got your little pieces, and this piece is going to be, these ones here are 1.5 wide by 1 3/4. So these need cutting down both ways. Okay, so these are 1.5. Just make sure I've got enough. I think they're 2 inches, aren't they? Yeah. So 1.5 wide, like that, and then 1 3/4 that way. What you'll see is that we've got these sections now just pop into there, so you can mat and layer all of this. Now let me get my trimmer out of the way a minute, and let me just write on here. I think it'd be easier if I write on here what the sizes of everything is. So these shapes are different. Okay, so these shapes are going to be a little bit different, so I won't tell you the measurements of them. You just start off with 3 1/4 by 8 1/4, and you just, I'm just going to quickly glue it into place so you can see that it all works really well. So when you've cut out those little sections like that, and that's what you end up with. You've got your mats in there perfectly. And then we've got the little section that we cut down. I think I'll just cut that one. So because that's pattern, we can now go the other side. And if you see there is like a little curve, a little mark, and I usually like to cut on the right side. I've cut on the wrong side of this one, but always cut on the right side facing you when you cut, because the trimmers do push the paper a little bit. You can pull it back up, but it's easier just to do it like that. So you can see that one pops in there nicely, and they're just the waste from that. So like I say, you only need those 3 panels of 3 1/4. I'll write it over here on this one actually. Let me get a pen. Planning and preparation, Sarah. I did have one, I'm not going to lie. Oh, there it is. So you need 3 panels. 3 panels that are 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. That's the easiest way to start. You'll have a little bit left over when you cut these panels. So all of these, so this is 3 1/4 wide, this is 3 1/4 wide, and this is 3 1/4 wide. So I'll just give you the depth measurements, okay? So all of these are going to be 1 3/4 because it's a 2-inch thing. So this is 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. I will zoom in, hang on. Let me just pause it or I'll go. I said 3 1/4, but I wrote 3 1/2. So 3 panels 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. Okay, it was originally 3 1/2. So it's 3 1/4 by 1 3/4 there, and that's going to be the same down here, 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. I know I said I wouldn't write it, but I did. And then the depth of this one is 4 1/4. So the depth of that one is 4 1/4. I will write it in, and then you've got it, haven't you, if you want to do a screenshot. So you have your whole panel here. These little ones will come from that whole panel, and you'll need to cut them down to be 1 3/4 high, and they're going to be 1 1/2 wide, okay? So these 4, and there are 4 of them, 1 1/2 by 1 3/4, and then there, and that one that we've done already. So that's how you do your matting and layering for there. When you do this one and you've got it 3 1/4 by 8 1/4, you're going to be measuring in 1 1/2, and then you're going to cut down 2, and then this is 1 3/4 section. That's what you cut out of there. It doesn't really show on there. It's better to watch back and show you how I did it last time. So when you've got it lined up, you put your paper at 1 1/2 inches, and you cut down 2, and then you finish it off that way. So just line it back up at 1 1/2 like I showed you. So I hope that all makes sense, guys, and get making and share. I love to see your projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.